This is Greatest Hits Radio. Hello, good evening. It's confession time. Brother Matthew is here.
Yes.
And Sister Holly is away. But that means that Sister Jackie Brambles...
Oh, Jackie B.
Jackie B, the righteous Jackie Brambles, who's on after this show, of course, is making a return to the confessional. Hello, Jackie. Good evening.
Oh, dearly beloved. It's so nice that we're gathering again.
It's very nice to have you there. Who's on your show later, by the way?
That would be one Mick Hucknall of a band you may have heard of called Simply Red. He's here for our great conversation tonight. Really looking forward to that.
Excellent. Okay, that's the promo done. Now to the serious business of handing out forgiveness or not to Donna, who has sent in this week's, today's confession. Yeah. Dear Father Simon, Brother Matt, and Sister Holly Susie, who turns out to be Sister Jackie, just like the old days. I added that bit there. I was 6 years old back in 1976 and attended a local Catholic school. My mother was an elderly woman who my friends took the mick out of because she used to pick me up with rollers in her hair and a headscarf. I thought she looked cool, but my friends did not. Now, we didn't have much money because I'm the youngest of 7 children. And as you can imagine, that's a lot of mouths to feed. All the other children at school used to have fabulously glamorous mothers pick them up in their fancy cars and fancy clothes to pick them up. They would wait at the school gates in their flared jeans and double denim, capes and turbans. Some of them tried a Parisian peasant look. Others had puffy skirts and billowing sleeves. My mum was in hair rollers and a scarf. Designer jeans appeared at our school gate for the first time in 76. Gloria Vanderbilt and Calvin Klein, no less. They all wanted to be Cher or Diana Ross. My mum had hair rollers and a scarf. She wanted to be Ina Sharples. Anyway, as you can imagine, I really wanted to impress my friends or take revenge on them. I wasn't sure. Either would do. Maybe I could do both. Well, this year in question, the school was putting on a play. We had about 4 weeks to rehearse. We put it on for the parents. I was selected to be the centre singer and dancer, the main attraction, and I got a lovely dress from one of my sisters. I cut the label out, and I told my teacher and my friends that my mum was a wizard on the sewing machine, and she had made me this beautiful dress.
Aww.
It has elements of a fairy tale, this story, actually.
It does.
They clearly believed me because I could see it in their eyes, Father Simon. They wanted a dress like mine. Anyway, they were all really impressed by my lovely dress with the labels cut out. So obviously, I told my teacher that my mother would make the costumes for all of my friends.
Oh, no!
All of the other 6-year-olds would have costumes.
Quite right.
Made by my mother, and they will be ready for the performance night when all the parents and relatives would be in attendance. They could all look as fancy as I did. This was very well received, and I was enjoying my new role as model and costume designer. Well, opening night arrived, and I told my teacher not to worry, my mum was on her way. She was just making a few last-minute alterations.
Of course she was, yeah.
It's a lot of costumes.
It is. 1 hour from curtain up. My teacher was getting worried. 30 minutes to go, she's very anxious. 10 minutes to go, she's going crazy. Me, not so much. So, the lights go down. I stood there, centre stage, in the most beautiful label cut-out dress. All my friends, on the other hand, had to dance around in their pants and vest.
Right.
Now, this was common practice in lessons, but on stage... I swelled and swooped in my dress. They pranced in their pants because I lied about it for 4 weeks. And of course, there were no costumes and no time to make any. So revenge was sweet. I was the star of the show, and I was the talk of all the parents of how beautiful I looked, because it was true. My friends didn't look so good dancing in their pants.
No.
Which is true of most people, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
But at least they had nice cars to go home in, with their young fashionable mums in their capes and turbans.
Ugh.
It's only now at the age of 52 that I feel so ashamed. I throw myself on the mercy of the panel and the listeners, and I am seeking forgiveness. What do you have to say? Let's go with Sister Jackie first of all, see what she has to say.
Yeah, it's giving me Madonna vibes. This kind of poor Catholic girl taking revenge on all her schoolmates, and then them prancing around in perhaps the vest and the pants, giving us some ideas for future videos.
That's true. That's true. You could do it when you were 6, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she needs forgiveness. I don't think she does. I think she's kind of proud of what she did. So I'm going to be pretty staunch, like the Catholic Church was with Madonna way back then,
Yes.
and I will not forgive.
you're not going to forgive.
I'm not
Hardline.
going to forgive.
I remember now how hardcore and unforgiving you were. Okay, brother from another.
This is somewhat similar to it's like the final scene of Carrie, this, isn't it? But with obviously more pants and vests.
More people survived.
And more people surviving. I mean, really, we're all on Donna's side here, aren't we? In that, this was clearly all the other parents with her turning up with the trying to look like Cher. Well, if they could turn back time now, I'm sure they'd behave differently. Yes. So for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Okay, so Jackie says no. Matt says yes. It's the people's verdict, please. Do you forgive Donna? Yes or no? 61054. First word is Simon. Jackie, thank you very much. Have a good show. Talk to you later. This was our confession today from Donna, who sent in a tale from back when she was 6 and at school. And although she was fine in the school production because she had a dress, beautiful dress, everyone else was dancing around in their pants and vest because Donna's mum had not actually made a whole bunch of fantastic outfits, even though Donna said that was precisely what was going to happen. Anyway, the people's verdict is in. Here it comes.
So Kat says, I forgive Donna. Surely we've all had to dance around in our pants and tops at school. Okay, so she cut the labels out of her dress. I'm sure we've all done that as well. Brilliant confession. Barry says, yes, Donna is forgiven because it serves her friends right for being horrible about her mum. And it's funny. And finally, Ron says, forgiven. Surely this was the teacher's fault. A 6-year-old child might tell you their mum's got a Rolls Royce and a unicorn you can borrow, but they're 6. You should have probably checked.
Primary school, I told my teacher that my dad was Bobby Charlton.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, who am I to judge? Okay. Donna, thank you. You get a smart speaker. And if you have a confession, you send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Miss Brambles.
Good evening, sir. Nice to be back. Think you so much.
You were a big success yesterday. People loving hearing you back in the confessional booth. Even though you were rather... I think
I was just judgmental. But isn't that the job description?
I think that is
actually, yeah.
That is
That's
the
fair
job.
enough.
That is the job. What's on the show tonight?
Gary Christian is joining us for a great conversation. He's a brilliant bloke. Can't wait for that chat. We've also got our Wednesday shout-outs, our Well Done Wednesday shout-outs, where people say nice things about the people who've gone the extra mile for them this week. So you're my nice person who's gone the extra mile by inviting me into the confessional, although that didn't sound that nice when I said it just there like that.
Well, no, but it just occurs to me, today's the 31st of May, and we had an old competition at Radio 1 called 31 Days in May, and one of the prizes that we gave away was, as I recall, I read out, to spend a weekend with the Christians in the Shetland Islands or something, and suddenly it sounded like something else altogether, but reflects directly with your guest today, because it was, of course, the band for Christians rather than any church. Anyway, speaking of the church, here we go with today's confession, which comes from Gloria. Dear Father Simon, righteous brother Matthew, Holy Trinity, Holly, Susie, Katie, but who turns out to be Jackie.
Yeah.
As a fairly new member of your sainted congregation, I have been listening with rapturous glee to the confessions of other dreadful sinners, and trying to decide which one of my sins I should ask for forgiveness. There are many. However, after being kept behind at work the other week, I heard the words Chaucer and confession on my drive home and decided this was probably a good place to start. So here beginneth my tale with a tenuous Chaucer link. In the distant days of the early 70s, I was a pupil at St. Winifred's. I used St. Winifred's as it was an all-girls school where we had indoor and outdoor shoes, length of skirt and height of heels inspections after morning assemblies. You get the general drift. Domestic science lessons included flower arranging and how to behave like a lady. Okay. These lessons were mainly wasted on us, as when the words, ladies bring out your secateurs, were spoken, it usually meant an hour of us managing to hide away in the school grounds and sneaking a crafty fag before returning with half a bush that we'd managed to hack to death with our secateurs. It came to pass that one term, Monday morning started with double lessons of Old English, as in Chaucer and the Canterbury Tales. Dear pilgrims, we were not impressed or entertained. The teacher to us at age 12 looked like a wrinkled tortoise and was also a little deaf. We soon realised that once he opened his book at the start of the lesson, he was totally unaware of what was going on around him. This was great news, as it meant any homework we had not completed over the weekend could be done during this double lesson, including biology, which was the next lesson of the day. Monday morning soon became much more palatable, and getting your homework done in English on a Monday morning became the norm. However, among us, I'm afraid to say there was a traitor, and so it was that we found ourselves being handed a week of detentions, along with a stern telling off from the headmistress in her cap and gown with her riding crop in her hand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We decided this totally undeserved and unfair penance should not go unpunished, so we decided to take our revenge. Later in the week, we had an RE lesson with the same teacher, the old tortoise, and devised what we thought was a great plan, although looking back, I've got no idea why we thought this. The idea was that 5 minutes into the lesson, one of us would start a low humming. We were not going to hum any kind of tune, just a low hum of a single note. After a while, more of us would join in, and we would keep this going for the whole lesson. There would be over 20 of us, so it would be easy for people to take a break as we needed to keep it going, and then the humming would start again. Our teacher at first took no notice, so we upped the volume a little until he started to look around. This in itself was unusual, as previously he had never raised his head, and so he became more and more perplexed and asked us what the humming noise was and if we could hear it. "No, sir, we can't hear anything," we cried as the others kept up the good work, and there were denials all around that it was due to us doing the humming. How none of us burst out laughing, I have no idea. Maybe the young lady training was working after all. After 5 minutes before the end of the lesson, when the bell would have tolled, the teacher said the class was finished for the day, as the humming noise had given him a headache and he was worried about his hearing. We thought we'd been extremely clever and congratulated each other on a joke well played, revenge taken, and honour restored. However, it did not seem so amusing later when we found out that said teacher had to go home due to his terrible headache and not feeling well. He was also off the following day and looked dazed and confused for weeks, especially when teaching in that particular classroom. And so, Father Simon, this is my pilgrim's tale, and I beg forgiveness not only for myself but for all of my young lady classmates who joined in and caused our fossilized teacher such trauma. I doubt we will be forgiven, but in our defense, we were very young, had led sheltered lives where your socks stayed white and pulled up, your gym knickers matched your PE skirt, we wore straw boaters in the summer and played croquet on the lawn. Also, if we'd not been so betrayed in the first place, we would never have carried out this dastardly deed. And so I feel that forgiveness should really be sought by the one who gave us away. Hopefully the rest of the congregation will agree, and I can finally stop feeling guilty or tormenting a very old and lovely gentleman who was, after all, only trying to teach us the works of Chaucer, which was, of course, a very good thing if you like that kind of thing. This is very novel, I have to say. Humming, low-level humming from 20 girls aged 12 would, I think, put most people off and be slightly disturbed. But let's check in with very judgmental Sister Jackie Brambles.
Yeah, it's dastardly, isn't it? It's really despicable. To me, it's an early example of gaslighting. Sort of audio gaslighting this poor old bloke.
Yes.
And as a fellow tortoise with a bit of tinnitus, it's not funny. It's not funny. Very, very naughty. You are not forgiven.
See, she's carrying on that role.
There you go. I like it.
I have to say, this is as I remember Jackie from. Okay, so no forgiveness from Sister Jackie. Brother from another gutter.
Well, I mean, is it just me, or does this teacher feel a little delicate? I mean, if he's gonna be sent home and have the next day off because of a bit of humming, that's it. I mean, really?
20 girls humming.
I mean, come on, 20 girls humming, and that means you get a day off? No. Also, teaching Chaucer, widely overrated. Chaucer, filthy and not very good rhymes in my.
There was a worthy man withal.
Exactly. So for that reason alone,
just
I'm going to forgive.
Chaucer.
Yeah, because of the Chaucer nonsense, but also not being able to deal with people humming.
Things that
Come
make
on,
you
man.
go hum indeed. 61054 on the text. Start your message with Simon. Forgiveness for Gloria, yes or no? 61054. Don't Excellent. Thank you very much. You can email the show, simon@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Tonight's confession came from Gloria, a tale of revenge on a teacher by 20 12-year-olds humming at low levels until the teacher had to take time off with a headache. Anyway, the people's verdict is in. Here it comes.
So Debbie in Northampton says, not forgiven. I agree with Jackie. This is audio gaslighting. Definitely would not have been acceptable in my school. Val in Leicestershire says, definitely forgiven, as I remember our RE class of some 50 plus years ago doing exactly the same, try and keep it up, doing exactly the same thing for our teacher, Miss Wright. All 38 of us got detention. And finally, Joe in sunny Portree on the Isle of Skye says, when I was at school in 1981, I shouted out "Heidi Hi." Everyone had agreed to shout "Hody Ho," but none of them shouted it, so I got sent out of maths. Sorry, Mr. Sakura.
Okay, you see, this is the area that we're mining. I think it could be very successful. If you have a confession around this theme or any other subject, send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Jackie is in on our confessional collective because she has to sit in judgment. As we know, she's very, very judgy. Tonight's confession comes from Jack, Simon, Matt, Holly, Jackie, Susie, Katie, anyone else who's around. I don't know if you've ever had a Sunderland Corporation transport-related confession before, but if not, this will be a first.
Yeah.
My confession goes back to a time when I was a mere 10 years old, and I lived on a huge council estate in the northeast called Pennywell. Lovely name, horrible place. As big as Pennywell was, there was no primary school nearby, so the council provided a special bus service for myself and my fellow denizens of the estate, or Pennywellians if you like, to transport us the 6 miles or so to the nearest junior school, which was called Quarry View. Horrible name, lovely place.
Okay.
The ride wasn't free, however, and each day we were required to take with us the bus fare, a penny there and a penny home again. Old pennies, of course. This was the beginning of the 60s. So there we all were, aboard the big green double-decker, pennies clutched in our small, sweaty little hands, ready to hand them over to the conductor in exchange for a little paper ticket that he produced merely by turning the handle of that clever little silver machine he had strapped to his shoulder. Now, I've never been any kind of bus nerd, Father Simon, but I really enjoyed the morning that the conductor, instead of tearing off each ticket individually, carried on turning the magic handle for each penny he took, producing a longer and longer ribbon of paper, which ended up looking remarkably like the one festive streamer my dad would pin to the sitting room ceiling every Christmas. In fact, I enjoyed it so much I decided I wanted to see this again. So on the return journey that day, I went round all the other kids and collected their pennies, gave them to the conductor, said, "Tickets for 27, please." He was happy to oblige, and after sliding all those coins into his leather pouch, his hand was a blur as it whirred round and round, turning the handle to churn out a seemingly never-ending stream of paper, like a loo roll that had been yanked rather too vigorously.
Okay.
And that is when I got the idea. When it dawned on me that Colin the Clippy had counted neither the coins nor the number of children on his bus, so my devilish, carefully thought-out scheme was born. I hesitate to call it a scam because the word hadn't been existed. I just thought it was a spiffing wheeze. The next morning on the bus, I was nervous with anticipation as I swung into action. Once again, I collected up all those big chunky pennies, my unsuspecting chums now just as eager as I had been to witness that ribbon of paper, which would surely have qualified for the world's longest bus ticket. And the conductor duly obliged after I'd once again requested tickets for 27 passengers and passed on the coins, except that this time I had only given him 26. My own penny remained secure in my pocket, just as I had planned. The sleight of hand had worked seamlessly as it did later that afternoon, with the result I arrived home from school tuppence the richer, 2D the richer. Couldn't believe my luck. And there was more of the same the following day when I repeated the operation just as successfully. By now I was becoming emboldened, and on the third day, displaying manual dexterity beyond my years, I succeeded not only in keeping my own penny safe in my pocket, but also in slipping another one out of the pile I had collected and adding that to it completely unobserved. 4pence in one day?
Wow.
This was easy, so I decided to repeat this procedure into the following week, and in no time at all, my ill-gotten gains had crept up to a shilling. I was going to need a bigger money box. Succession, here we come. I was not entirely sure how long this continued, but I remember it came to a shuddering halt the morning a brand new conductor appeared on the bus. No more amenable, gullible Colin. This replacement wasn't standing for any of that nonsense. My heart froze as I saw him begin to count the coins.
Oh, no.
Fortunately, I had the presence of mind to reach into my pocket and say with a nervous laugh, sorry, I've forgotten to put my own in. But the look he gave me with his one good eye, because the other one was glass, was enough to convey that Mad Eye Moody knew exactly what I'd been up to.
What?
And that was it. The wind was well and truly up. And I knew that my shenanigans had to end there. I suppose I'd had a good run, and at least I'd finished up with enough dosh to ensure that come the next bonfire night, I had the largest collection of bangers of all my friends, which had in fact been my ultimate aim. So many out-of-date references.
Yes, I was going to say.
One confession. So, Monsignor Simon and all, your guidance, please. Should I apologise from the Sunderland Corporation Transport Department, now defunct, for depriving them of what was essential revenue? Colin the Clippy, who, for all I know, may have been replaced on that route because of the very financial discrepancies in his daily takings for which I was responsible. Or maybe it should be to my friends and schoolmates from Quarryview, now defunct, who unwittingly had been instrumental in largely financing my collection of bangers, which was so much larger than theirs. Do I deserve forgiveness? I'll leave it for you to decide. By the way, I realise now, of course, that bangers were an irresponsible thing to buy.
Okay.
And I do not condone their use at all.
Although they were legal, so, you know.
Oh, no, they were absolutely perfectly legal back in the day. So let's check in and see how we're going with this one. Very, very interesting. Jack's confession, it was a scam, it was dishonest, and I think young Jackie is going to be taking a very stern approach to this.
Well, you may be surprised today
because
I am actually going to reward this individual with forgiveness because I feel it was very entrepreneurial, given the background story that we were given. It was kind of Logan Roy-esque.
It was.
The little scam that he was pulling, and therefore, yes, absolutely forgiven for showing some ingenuity.
Right, I'm getting soft in your old
I
age,
think
Brambles.
so.
Okay, brother from another gutter.
I'm not sure what it says about me, but frankly, as soon as I heard the premise, I thought, I think I could make a bit of money here. And it turns out I had exactly the same thought as Jack, in that just give him the money, and then if it turns out that you're one short, you can just go, I forgot, I've still got the penny inside the back of my pocket. And he's winning, he's getting 2 pennies a day. Certainly a case of 2D or not 2D. Oh, yeah!
Oh,
Bang in
like
the back
boom.
again. So for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Jackie, thank you. We'll hear you later. Matt, that was terrible.
It was fabulous.
Forgiveness for Jack. It's the people's verdict, please, on the text 61054. First word is Simon. Here comes the people's verdict.
So Joe in Norton says, forgiven. What a great way to save all their money. Definitely an entrepreneur. Forgiven, says Susan in Hull. Entrepreneurial, such a great word to describe what was going on. I agree with Jackie, a very big penny jar. And finally, Brian in Leicester says, forgiven. I'd have done exactly the same, but I've spent my savings on something better than bangers, though.
Yes, well, you can't buy them anymore because they are not safe. And so that's the public health and safety thing being done. So anyway, you can't buy them, so that's fine. So your confession, please, for next week, confessions at greatesthitsradio.co.uk.